Hey there, welcome to the floor in my office. If you've never seen the floor in my office and you don't know anything about this aquarium, welcome to the channel. But don't you dare hit the subscribe button yet till you've seen a couple of videos. If you've been around the channel for a while, then you may have remembered this moss cube that we set up, and I had fully intended to let it run for a while. We're going to tear it down. Before we do that though, let's give you an update on it, show you where it started for the new people watching, and show you what's happened to it. Alright, so this is what the aquarium looked like when we set it up, and the idea was that it was going to just be a moss grow out tank for other builds that I wanted to create later on. And now the idea really came from MJ Aquascaping, the 2-rock moss aquascape that he had. So I kind of wanted to create like my moss only tank based on this idea. And in this aquarium we have some weeping moss, some Riccia fluitans, some Riccardia moss, and my favorite, Physidens moss. So I set it up and let it cycle in a little bit, and within 2 weeks, this is where we were at. We have an algae problem in the moss aquarium, so we're going to try and add some critters here that might help with this algae issue. And this is going to be some red Neocaridina shrimp. Now the color red was recommended by one of you fabulous subscribers, and I have a selection here of my finest red cherry shrimp. They're kind of like a Bloody Mary almost. The females are really dark, almost mahogany color, I guess, or whatever you want to call that. So let's get them in here and see if maybe they'll chew up some of this algae for me. All right, it looks like they're just kind of chilling for now. Hard to see on camera, but maybe they're picking through the algae a little bit. I don't know. I haven't had 100% success using cherry shrimp to control algae. Amano's a little bit better. Right above that aquarium is my orange Neocaridina tank and, well, a little bit of algae on the rock, but I don't have big algae issues or string algae issues kind of like we got going on here. I'm not really sure what type of algae this is that's on all the moss, but instead of cutting the moss out, we'll see if the shrimp will eat it. Now the shrimp have been in here for a while and they've actually done kind of a good job at cleaning this thing up. You can see the bare spots right here in the middle, and that's where the algae has kind of died. The shrimp have been going in there and kind of cleaning it up for me, but only the bottom of the Riccardia moss is really looking healthy. It looks like the whole top's died and the algae did a good job at killing it off. The Physidens has grown in pretty good. Not very lush and green though. I just don't think it's getting enough light. It probably wants to photosynthesize a little bit better. It's growing. It's got new tips. You can see the bright green little tips there. If you compare that to the Physidens moss that is in the shrimp tank right above it, look at how green and awesome that Physidens moss is. The Riccia fluitans over here in this left corner, it's growing. It's just kind of a really weird plant. Like, it doesn't take root or hold on to anything. These little pieces just kind of break off. Now there's no filter or anything in this aquarium. There's absolutely no water flow, and I still get these pieces that just float off of here. Look at this. And I'm not really sure what to do with this Riccia fluitans. When I did more research setting up this aquarium, I did find out that Riccia fluitans is technically a floating plant. So I left a chunk of it sitting right up here to float and kind of do its thing. And I guess it's got like little shoots kind of sticking up out of the water there, and maybe it's gonna grow that way. But you can tell that it's just kind of a biofilm mess in here. On a brighter note though, if we look at these two rocks with the weeping moss on there, we start to kind of see a similarity to MJ Aquascaping's Physidens moss rocks. So just kind of a big fuzzy rock there. Looks pretty cool. The weeping moss really kind of thrives in any environment as long as it's got some light and some nutrients. It seems to do pretty good. But this is where we're at with the aquarium. Now, why am I tearing it down? Well, one reason that I'm tearing it down is because I'm afraid it's just going to turn into an algae mess. While the shrimp are doing everything they can to keep up with it, it's just not progressing the way that I wanted it to. Second, the weeping moss is literally just going to take over. I mean, the weeping moss, as you can see, is the main focal point compared to when we first started. Here's another clip of that. So what's going to happen is it's just going to turn into a weeping moss tank. So kind of idea failed, I guess. we would have to redo this, which is probably why MJ Aquascaping used Fissidon's moss, because it grows a lot slower and it stays more compact and you can kind of manage it. So maybe we'll revisit this in the future. I have a tank that would be perfect for it, but you guys won't let me tear it down yet. Put in the comments if you know what tank I'm talking about. The next reason that I'm tearing it down is because it's literally on the floor, and water changes and maintenance on it is a pain in the butt because I literally have to pump the water out because you can't siphon water from the floor to the floor. So it's just a pain to do water changes on. I do try and maintain it as I do all my aquariums, and it's just a pain in the butt. But the real reason that I'm tearing the aquarium down is because I need that tank. See, in my last video, I did an unboxing of a brand new light that Hygger has, and I'm going to need this tank to do an experiment per Hygger's request. They want to test the light over a long period of time with some really hard to grow plants, and so we're going to do that, and I have some really hard to grow plants. Foreshadowing, now's the time you can subscribe if you want to find that video. A couple months later, when you forget about it, it'll pop up in your feed. That's really why I'm tearing it down. Ultimately, I could probably work with this and fix it, tear the moss out of it, the weeping moss, take the weeping moss out of it, trim the top of the Ricardia moss, and I could turn this tank around. My skills, I think, are good enough to do that, but I need that aquarium because I have one right next to it. Can you see here? Yeah, I've got another one right here, and so I need matching aquariums to do this experiment. So that is the birth, life, and death of the Moss Aquarium. And since you guys have never seen the aquarium on the right and never going to see the aquarium on the right again, in this configuration anyway, I will leave you guys with the failed experiment on the right-hand side there. I appreciate you guys watching. I'm not going to do a teardown video or anything like that. We're going to keep this short and sweet. There's your moss tank update. Don't worry, I'm not throwing the moss away. We're going to do something else with it later on. So as always, guys, thanks for your support on the channel. Click the appropriate buttons, and I will catch you guys on the next one.